From her earliest memories, Queen Nzinga was surrounded by tales of greatness. Her mother would often tell her about the courageous Queen Nzinga before bedtime. He began to admire the deeds of the legendary Queen Nzinga, a strong and fearless woman who spared no effort to protect and care for her people. Nzinga's exploits were legendary in their kingdom, always sparking a sense of awe in young Nzinga. The story of a fearless woman who defended their land inspired her deeply. Nzinga was and still is an example of what it means to be an African woman. She sacrificed herself for her people like a true queen. As Queen Nzinga grew older, her arsenal of skills expanded. She studied warfare, diplomacy, and leadership diligently, never forgetting her inspiration. Contrary to what is currently told, that African peoples were not civilized, which is a lie, our people were much more civilized than the people who enslaved us to steal and exploit our resources. We had the best educational system where women were taught how to be women and men how to be men. And above all, we were taught to preserve nature. Her began to notice how she was maturing into a wise and determined leader, someone who genuinely cared about them and their well-being. She was becoming who she was destined to be. She had been chosen by Nzinga to lead her people in the difficult times ahead. One day, unsettling news reached the kingdom. A foreign threat was looming over their lands, provoking fear and unrest among the tribe leaders. The entire kingdom spoke of the foreigners who came to plunder their people, because when they arrived in our lands, they came as mere explorers and traders. Little did we know they were the wolf in sheep's clothing. Queen Nzinga assembled the tribal leaders to discuss the imminent danger. Her demeanor was calm, yet authoritative, as she addressed the concerned crowd. The queen was aware of the dangers posed by the foreign presence in her kingdom. She calmed her people and gathered with the kingdom's advisors to discuss what they should do in the face of the imminent threat. Her words were carefully weighed, designed to instill courage and stimulate unity, unlike anything the tribal leaders had seen before. The brave queen was very protective of her people. She was born to lead, as it was something natural in her, Nzambi's choice. They debated strategies and potential alliances, with Nzinga beautifully orchestrating the discussions. Finally, they reached an agreement of creating an alliance to protect their lands. The next days were filled with preparations for war. Nzinga took the head and led the troops fearlessly, always with a determined look in her eyes. The sight of their young queen leading the unit instilled unfathomable courage in the soldiers. They were ready to protect their lands at all costs. The day of the battle came. Queen Nzinga, in her battle gear, looked indomitable, standing tall and unafraid at the battlefield's front. The opposing forces were formidable, but Queen Nzinga's courage was unshakable. She led her troops into the battle, demonstrating remarkable bravery. The battle raged on for hours, but the combined forces of the tribes, under Nzinga's able leadership, held their ground and fought relentlessly. When the dust finally settled, the battlefield echoed with cheers of victory. Their unified tribes had successfully defended their land from the foreign threats. The triumphant Queen Nzinga, smeared with dust and sweat, felt a surge of pride. She had kept her promise and protected her kingdom. Nzinga returned to her kingdom, greeted by the joyful cheers of her people. She had not only protected their land, but had also preserved their dignity and honor. That evening, as she looked upon her people celebrating, Queen Nzinga felt a deep sense of satisfaction. She had successfully followed in her idol's footsteps. Days turned into months and then into years. Queen Nzinga's reign was prosperous, with her kingdom flourishing under her wise and compassionate rule. Local bards began singing songs of her bravery in households, and the tales of the legendary Queen Nzinga started to form, just like they had for Nzinga. Queen Nzinga continued to lead her people with the same courage and wisdom she had shown during the battle. Her legend lived on, inspiring the next generation. She inspired the new generation to be as fearless as she was, and she continues to inspire us to this day. One such individual was Kuti, a young boy who was very much in awe of Queen Nzinga. He would often sit through the entire night, listening to her tales in amazement. Kuti imagined himself in Queen Nzinga's shoes, leading his people with bravery and wisdom. The spark of leadership had been ignited in yet another young heart. Queen Nzinga's tales became a beacon of inspiration for many, impacting the young and old alike. Her life was a testament to the power of courage, unity, and wisdom. As Queen Nzinga aged, she saw the seeds she sowed in the hearts of her people bear fruit. Future leaders were being molded, inspired by the tales of their queen. Looking upon her thriving kingdom, Queen Nzinga knew she had fulfilled her duty. She had protected her land, united her people, and inspired future leaders. And so, the legacy of Queen Nzinga lived on. The tales of her bravery, courage, and dedication continued to inspire generations, just as the legendary Queen Nzinga had inspired her. Her story can never be erased from history. She is a symbol and a reference for all women.